Welcome everybody to our, what is this, April? Wow. April edition of Office Hours, where we answer your questions about WordPress plugins, any one of our plugin lineup, WP Courseware, S3 Media Maestro, Churnly, online business, or I don't know, if you just want to know something, just ask. So we've got my two good buddies here. I got my good friend Nate and my good friend Corey. We are the Fly Plugins team. So good morning from Arizona.
Morning.
And Denver.
And Denver.
Ish.
Yeah. Beautiful Colorado, where it's not going to be triple digits today.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's going to get into the hundreds today.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it's going to be a little toasty today here.
We've got a few questions that have come in. Yeah, Patrick, I think we just got your question through email.
Hey, Patrick, by the way, welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Info on the new release. That could be a long conversation.
Yeah. I'm thinking let's tag the questions in Trello, and then let's talk release. That's some big news.
Cool. Let me see what we've got. Translation. Maria is asking, I need to translate everything to Spanish, please. And we have a pretty solid video on that. Yeah, translation, you can do it one of two ways. I mean, I guess there's more than two ways, but you can do it kind of the manual way, which I like to describe as the manual way, by using an app called Ppdate or Ppdate. I don't know how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And so basically you can open up the translation template file, and then when you save it, it spits out a PO and an MO file, which you upload to your website in the language folder, and it translates the site based on what language you have selected in your WordPress settings. And that's sort of the manual way. The easy way is to use a plugin called LocoTranslate, and I highly recommend this plugin. It's a really good plugin, and basically you install it, and everything is point, click, and drag kind of styles type of thing, where you can pick your language, and then it actually pulls in all the strings for the plugin itself, and you can just translate them right there. The really cool thing I like about Loco, as opposed to the manual thing, and it's funny because I just dealt with this morning in support, is that you don't have to worry too much about when a plugin updates. You don't have to worry about manually updating that translation file. So with Loco, it's really cool because you can literally click a button. It's called the sync button. It's just a single step, and you basically can update your translation file, get all the new, it pulls in all the new strings, and you basically can translate from there. So it's definitely a plugin that I would highly recommend using. I know we've had customers ask about WPML. Unfortunately, we've really worked hard to try to get our plugin WPML certified or compatible, or whatever you want to call it. And unfortunately, we've just not been able to work with the folks at WPML to get that done. And so unfortunately, it's just not. So
they have a LocoTranslate big backlog.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It for some reason, communication kind of breaks down somewhere along the way, and we've just not been able to do it. We've been trying literally for years to do that. And so it just has not happened. But Loco is a great plugin. So in fact, I have a YouTube video. So just head out to youtube.com/fly plugins. Look for the LocoTranslate video, and you'll get a tutorial on how to translate WP Courseware with Loco.
Yeah. Great video, by the way. Let's see. Michael asks where to find best practices for course creation. We've run into a bit of a wall with the courses. Maybe we could discuss with other course creators. So we do have some resources for course creation, like our blueprint series, but yeah.
Yeah, I think best practices, it's really going to come down to your target, like who your students are and what helps them to learn. I mean, at the end of the day, the objective is to help them learn something. And Nate he's a little bit modest, but he's done a great job with the blog blueprint series. It's a blog series, and we talk about everything from topic selection, topic validation to, even some marketing tactics and that sort of thing for your course. But there's a lot of good information there. I love the idea of putting together a community of people to even just talk about this sort of thing.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, there's so I think it would be beneficial for other course creators to come together and just kind of share some, strategies and tips and that sort of thing. Almost kind of like just a course instructor community would be really cool.
Yeah.
If you guys have some ideas for that, I'm totally open to that.
Yeah, like a Facebook group or forum or.
It sounds like from your experience, Ben and Nate, that it's different for pretty much every course, every type of course, industry, experience level of the users. So I think all those factors go into consideration of how you would create a course. Obviously, there's some best practices which you've laid out in your blueprint series, but
I mean, there's a lot of. Go ahead, Nate. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's some of those are like you were saying, Ben, topic validation, like that would lay across pretty much every topic you would want to teach online. But you're right, Corey. There are things that are unique when it comes to. It's a difficult thing to do, to teach something online. Like, you've got to communicate it effectively, efficiently.
It's important to consider your students and their learning styles. There's so many different learning styles. One thing that we like to focus on is video style courses, but there's other ways to learn too. I mean, there's interaction. I think it's the and Nate has a good article on this too. What is it called, Nate? The H5P web interaction, so that you're actually interacting with it's kind of like almost like a built-in little app that you can interact with or something like that. And so there's just different ways of learning. And so I think understanding your target and how they learn is very essential. But like Nate mentioned, and I highly recommend this, make it effective and efficient. So you don't want to make a long drawn out course or long video that's just got way too much information. Chunk it up into bite-sized chunks so that it's palatable and people can,
easy to digest.
Yes, easy to digest. You want to be effective. So that's I love what Nate said, effective and efficient. If you can pull that off and teach your students, at the end of the day, you're going to achieve your goal, which is making your students successful.
Yeah, you want it to be able to fit into your students' day.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good question.
Got that one. Okay. I think looks like that's all we had in Trello.
So I don't know. Should we talk about the big news, the big release?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we just, I guess it was yesterday afternoon, we released WP Courseware version 4.6. Again, we're on our rewrite, road to rewriting the plugin, hopefully to get to 5.0. And we've along the way, we're also introducing some new features as well. But it was a pretty big release, pretty major release, and it had to do mostly with two real big components. One of them is now you have an installment payment type, and you also are able to bundle your courses. And so those are probably the two major ones, but we've added in some really cool stuff. We've done some stuff with adding in a block for the Gutenberg for a progress bar, along with a shortcode and a widget. We've also added in some new attributes to the course progress shortcode, so that you can display course description as well as prerequisites for the course, and that way they'll display on the front end within your course outline. We've added course unit teaser preview, which is really cool because that means somebody can come and preview your course without having to be registered or enrolled into your course. This has been a big one. I think when I look at the feature request list, I think this was one of the most highly requested feature we've had in a while. So we were able to add that in there as well. We added in some really cool functionality so that admins and instructors can preview the course freely without having to complete units or take a quiz or have to deal with a drip feed or drip scheduled
and
unit.
Prerequisites.
Yep. Or prerequisites, I guess. Yeah, you're right, Corey. What am I missing? I think, and we did, there's a lot more that we did on the back end. I mean, we updated some things like the TC-PDF library for certificates. We fixed quite a few bugs. So there's actually quite a bit. It was a pretty loaded release. And so it's one step closer to the rewrite, as well as adding in a bunch of new functionality. So so that's kind of an overview of it. But we can probably maybe talk about maybe a little more detail for each feature. So
Okay.
I don't know that we necessarily need to demo it. I'm actually going to be creating a video which is going to display all of this. All of our documentation has been updated, so you can see all of these new features in the documentation as well. So I don't know. What do you guys have any comments, questions, or yeah?
I was just going to point out another item that's in the changelog, but is not necessarily fairly obvious. Is we created another shortcode that allows you to get the next available unit. So let's say that you're on, you want to create some type of landing page or something like that previews the next unit. But I don't know. I'm just thinking here, but it allows you to insert a button that says, okay, give me the next available unit for the user that's logged in. So you could create some custom content to further engage your users or your students and give them a link to go to that next available unit. So that's one thing. We did have quite a few fixes in this release as well, especially with a conflict with WooCommerce and their emails. So we fixed that. We had quite a bit of fixes with regards to payments and emails. So a lot of improvements there, especially with regards to PayPal.
We've got the unit completion email now, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's true. So we added the unit completion. So when a user
a little more granular.
Now it's disabled by default because most people in the past that have been using WP Courseware have never needed that email. So it's disabled by default, but if you do want to go enable it, every time a user completes a unit, it will fire off an email saying, congrats, you've completed this unit, and you can customize that text as needed.
Like Nate said, it's more granular, so you'd be getting a lot of email. That's why we kind of missed it. But the other thing I was going to mention too with the unit completed email, that it used to get confused with the unit drip email, because there's another email for the units or at the unit level, and it's specifically for a unit that has a drip schedule attached to it. And the only way that gets triggered is if there's actually an email queued up for it. Now, how does the email get queued up for it? Somebody has to attempt to view that particular unit that's blocked by drip. Once that happens, it triggers an action in the background and an email gets queued up. And as soon as that unit becomes available, that email gets distributed out. But that's a separate email from the completed unit email, so not to be confused.
Right. Yeah. And we could change that eventually. I think we've had some requests to just trigger an email.
Without having to set the action to put it in the queue. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, without trying to hit it.
You're right. Our drip system needs an overhaul, but that will be part of the rewrite. In fact, Corey and I were kind of discussing what our next steps are for the rewrite, but we have a few ideas. We're trying to not make every release just all back-end stuff that the end user does not see. We want to make sure we include features so that you guys can see some things happening. But trust me, there's a lot of stuff that's happening on the back end where Corey's is modifying tons and tons and tons of code. I can't remember what our statistic was last year, but it was ridiculous how much code Corey wrote. I mean, it was like, was it over 1 million lines? Was it? I don't know.
It was over 1 million, I think.
Yeah, it was something insane. So, there's a lot of code being written in the back end.
Yeah, and we include kind of the highlights in the changelog. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that is tweaked and things like that, but we try and make sure that with the rewrite, we maintain backwards compatibility with almost everything. So, and if there is some type of breakage, we'll let you know. But so far, we haven't run into that. And that's what we encounter with like the drip system, for example. It needs this nice little overhaul, but we're trying to do it slowly so that we maintain that compatibility and that people upgrading to the new versions get very little issues, if none at all. So that's what we're trying to do.
Plus, we have all of these add-ons to,
take into consideration.
Yeah.
Extensions,
and we got to work with other plugins.
So there's two more things that I wanted to highlight past what we just talked about, and they have to do with quiz grading.
Oh yeah.
So we added inside, if you have a user that needs that has taken a quiz and that quiz contains a question that needs manual grading, when you go to grade that question, there's now a button to send an email to that user directly from that screen. So that's useful and a highly requested feature, because let's say that you want to give them feedback or who knows what you'd like to say to them, but you can do that directly from that screen. And another thing is that you can now filter the questions that need manual grading inside the gradebook. So that's nice if you just need to see all the questions that need manual grading.
That makes it easier to see. I think it's funny because I think we sort of had a link there, but it wasn't very intuitive and it wasn't really visible. And then not only that, but Corey added a really big button rather than just a hyperlink. Like it's a big red button. You can't miss it.
Yeah.
So that's very helpful too. So that way you can click on that and go right to the grading screen. So a couple of big changes there, which is really nice. I think it just makes things a little more efficient, more fluid, and your process can be a little more easier to grade your students' quizzes.
Yeah. It's always been a bit of a challenge with the manual grading.
Yeah. At some point we're going to get that whole quiz module rewritten. And it'll look a lot, not only look better, but it'll be more effective, more efficient, but most importantly, it'll be easier to add in new quiz question types, because this has been a request for many people. Hey, you have matching, or there's just so many different matrix style questions, or just different question types that people have been asking for. In fact, I have had somebody recently ask if we could modify our multiple choice question. And we could, but we really want to wait until we're going to go ahead and do that whole quiz update. Yeah.
Rewrite. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are a few different question types that we've had requests for, like we talked about last time, the drag and drop, kind of matching style question.
So we're in the process of doing that one. It's just going to take a bit. So
on the S3 Media Maestro front, we recently had a couple of our customers ask about an email that they had received directly from Amazon AWS, and they were communicating the fact that they're going to be deprecating certain versions of CloudFront's SDK. And so Corey and I did some investigation, actually just yesterday, and we found that the current SDK that we're using should be good to go. It's updated. So in case you're wondering and you get that email, don't worry. We're going to make sure that we keep that SDK updated. We won't let it slip or allow the deprecated versions of CloudFront to be used. So don't worry about that. It should be good to go.
If anything, we have plans to improve upon the CloudFront integration inside S3 Media Maestro, because it seems as though a lot of people use CloudFront with AWS S3. So we have plans to make it easier to insert CloudFront media to be able to use that CloudFront CDN. So look forward to those. Look for those later in the year, but we have some big plans for that.
Yeah.
But it should not break. We've verified that everything that we currently have in there will be fine upon the deprecation that CloudFront has in store, and I believe it goes into effect on June 6th is when it happens. So plenty of time before that, but we've done our testing, due diligence, and we should be good to go.
Yeah, and I guess the only other piece of news that we released a new update to our MemberMouse add-on yesterday, and so we just added an additional feature for de-enrolling students when somebody cancels a subscription bundle. So we currently, before that, what would happen is you would just lose access to the course, but not necessarily get de-enrolled. In other words, you couldn't view units. You could see that you have a course, but you couldn't click into them. So we went ahead and added in the new feature. So we released that yesterday as well. So that should be good to go.
Yeah, and we've got a couple fixes coming in the Churnly space, just minor tweaks regarding expiring emails. So look for those in the next. Look for that in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and Churnly has kind of picked up a little bit of speed.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know about what that does, well, Corey, you can explain it. We haven't really talked about it much on here.
Yeah. So to quickly describe what Churnly is, it's a churn solution for WooCommerce and easy digital downloads. So I'll explain it in an example. Let's say that a user comes to your site and they subscribe to a product that you've set up, and that subscription is monthly. And let's say they put a credit card in that will expire before the next renewal happens. Now, when that next renewal happens, because their credit card is expired, that payment will fail, and that's what's called churn. And so what our solution does is it will send a reminder email, and in different intervals, and you can set that up inside Churnly. Let's say 2 weeks out from the next renewal date, it will send a reminder that says, hey, your renewal is coming up, but we noticed that your credit card's expired. In order to not lose access, please update your credit card using this link. And so it'll give them a link to go to the site to update their credit card, thus reducing the possibility that the next payment will fail. And so we've implemented
increasing revenue.
And increasing revenue, right. And so at least lost revenue from a failed credit card payment. So we've implemented that for WooCommerce and WooCommerce subscriptions with Stripe, and also easy digital downloads and Stripe and PayPal. So if you haven't checked it out, go to our website, flyplugins.com, and click on the Churnly logo on the homepage, and you can read more about what it does and the benefits that it may give you. So hopefully it's useful to some people looking for a solution like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see those. Well, as with everything, we built it for ourselves.
For ourselves, right?
But it's like, I think it's like 7% increase if you have a recurring renewal site.
And it's simple too. It does one very specific thing. And so if you need that kind of functionality, that's what it's there for. Instead of using something external like a Recurly or something else. So Churnly is WordPress specific for the two most popular e-commerce plugins.
Yep. Our next office hours will be May 24th, I believe.
Correct.
And that will be 1 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we hope you'll join us for our May edition. Well, thank you everybody for joining our office hours. If you haven't done so already, would you do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel? And that way you get notified when we release helpful content just like this one. Thank you guys for joining us. We hope to see you next month for our office hours edition of May. And have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.